Okay, we're live. Hello, you good people. I'm told we're live. Maybe you could take a look, make sure we're live. Hello there. Thank you for joining us. This is Life on Earth with Robert and Amy Nacer. Today is Thursday, June 24th, 2021. Now, in her speech, Philosophy Who Needs It, Ayn Rand told the 1976 graduating class
What'd she
of
say?
West Point Military Academy, in regard to her philosophy, she said, formally, I call it objectivism, but informally, I call it a philosophy for living on Earth. You know, that being the case, it stands to reason, other things being equal, that objectivists, fans of Ayn Rand, should be the most successful, most benevolent, efficacious, positive, gracious, cheerful, optimistic, happy people on Earth.
Positive and cheerful? What?
That's right. Just in case you didn't remember or didn't know, why is this show called Life on Earth? Formally, I call it objectivism, but informally, I call it a philosophy for living on Earth.
That's what Ayn Rand said. Yes.
So last weekend, I was listening to the amazing James Stevens Valiant, author of The Passion of Ayn Rand's Critics, and also Creating Christ. And he was leading a session on Leonard Peikoff's Objectivism Through Induction. And after the session in the Q&A, there was an attendee who mentioned a friend of his. And his friend had explicitly adopted the maxim, happiness is not about getting what you want. It's about appreciating what we have. And it's funny because I heard that and I thought, yeah, that's nice. But he went on to say, it seems that the person in question, this gentleman's friend, had taken that to mean no more ambition. Stop being ambitious. He dropped the concept of ambition in his life. And James went on to explain, yes, that's the problem with that idea is if you take that literally, happiness is not about getting what we want, it's about appreciating what we have. Then no matter what we have, no matter how things fall apart around us, we can just sit around and appreciate what we have. Of course, that doesn't work.
Well, it might work for a time.
It might work for a time. Well,
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. I said that resonated with me. Just like the Stoic idea.
Yeah.
Seneca said, it's not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor. Poverty is not appreciating what you've got.
You know, I would change that to happiness is not just about getting what you want, or not only about getting what you want.
Well, that's true.
That makes it a little bit different.
Yes. The philosopher Sheryl Crow said, it's not having what you want, it's wanting what you've got. She made $1 million with that song. How could she be wrong? So it got me thinking about ambition. And this is important stuff, but it's also valuable stuff, like dollars and cents valuable. First of all, what is ambition? I always start out by going to the dictionary. So we went to Merriam-Webster, which says an ardent desire for rank, fame, or power, desire to achieve a particular end. Okay, desire is good. Rank, fame, or power sound a little second-handed. So we go to Cambridge. A strong wish to achieve a particular thing. Well, that's more objective, except for maybe the wish part. A strong wish to be successful. Okay, let's go to Oxford. We'll go where the money is. Oxford says desire and determination to achieve success. I like that better. That was better. And then, of course, I realized I'm looking in the dictionary, but who always defines her terms before discussing a topic? Oh, yeah, I should look in the Ayn Rand lexicon. Ayn Rand says...
You were supposed to ask me, and I was about to say,
oh,
is that
sorry.
Ayn Rand?
Yes. Well, you of course would know. Ayn Rand says ambition means the systematic pursuit of achievement and of constant improvement in respect to one's goal. I'm systematically looking to achieve super chat contributions, because Mary Aline has already come through with $1.99. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Can't resist
You're
pointing
the
that
best.
out.
And she likes your shirt.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm.
If you've seen my Sunday show, I always wear a boring jacket
Awesome.
and a boring t-shirt and my hair down. So
It's
for
only,
life on Earth, this is more ambitious.
you know, it's only 6 months to Christmas. Therefore, you're going to have some poinsettias
That's
and
right.
some jingle bells here going on. It's really nice.
So when I thought I've got a new show to do, obviously I'm not going to wear a black jacket, especially not for the Ayn Rand admires the objectivist crowd. They appreciate values. So you're going to get Hawaiian shirt, print shirt. Anyway, thank you for that. What is ambition? Ayn Rand says ambition means the systematic pursuit of achievement and of constant improvement in respect to one's goals. I love that. The interesting thing about the dictionary definitions of ambition is that, as we saw with benevolence, they point to success and in particular wealth, that the ambitious man is pursuing wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to keep coming back to that. I had written a sort of informal manifesto. I guess it wouldn't be a manifesto if it was informal. I put up a Facebook post. Okay. And I've read this before on both of my shows. You'll recognize this, but I'm only going to read a couple sentences from it. In terms of my idea of ambition, it comes down to this: live the best life you can. You were gifted a life free and clear. You were born. And as everything is finite, one day you're going to die. Make of your life what you will, as you wish, as bold and adventurous, or as silly and outrageous, or as ambitious and industrious, or as quiet and pleasant as you like. That was a little wishy-washy, but it's very Robert Naser, a little too woo. I'm thinking touchy-feeling.
Now, let me see it again. Let me see this.
Yes.
Comes down to this: live the best life you can. You get a life free and clear. You're born, and everything's fine. You die. As you wish, as bold and adventurous. Well, I mean, it lacks the kind of grounding of Ayn Rand's philosophy in terms of the nature of man and the nature of a conceptual being, and the specific nature of a human being, and all of our requirements for not just living but for thriving.
Right.
Yeah.
And what I'm going to address here is this idea: make of your life what you will, as you wish. Almost sounds Nietzschean. But what do I mean by that? See, I think it is too woo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read from the man who is never too woo, Leonard Peikoff, in Objectivism, the Philosophy of Ayn Rand, in regard
He's
to,
often fairly exact, as a matter of
yes,
fact.
in regard to purpose and ambition. In Opar, Leonard writes, quote, "The principle of purpose means conscious goal directedness in every aspect of one's existence where choice applies. The man of purpose defines explicitly his abstract values, and then, in every area, the specific objects he seeks to gain and the means by which to gain them. Whether in regard to work or friends, love or art, entertainment or vacations, he knows what he likes and why, and then goes after it." I love this because it's much better than anything I could have written, but also because of the objectivity. He goes on a little later: "The principle of purpose sanctions deliberate rest or relaxation, but condemns a course of drifting or of inaction. The man who drops purpose turns himself into a cipher, who evades his own nature, defaults on the responsibility of focus, and abdicates his power of choice. The end of ethics, self-preservation, cannot be achieved in a single stroke. It depends on a continuous, rational process, a process of pursuing derivative values that entail specific kinds of goals in every area of one's concern. The pursuit of purpose is thus what human life consists of concretely. In this sense, purpose is at once the essence of human life and the means of its preservation." And at that point, I realized, okay, what we're really talking about here is moral ambition. And what is moral ambition?
Pride.
Pride. Aristotle
pride.
said,
It's the crown of virtue.
pride is the crown of virtue.
Yeah.
In the Objectivist Ethics, Ayn Rand specifically says, "The virtue of pride can best be described by the term moral ambitiousness. She wrote, pride is the recognition of the fact that you are your own highest value. And like all of man's values, it has to be earned. That if any achievements open to you, the one that makes all others possible is the creation of your own character. That your character, your actions, your desires, your emotions are the products of the premises held by your mind. That as man must produce the physical values he needs to sustain his life, so he must acquire the values of character that make life worth sustaining. And then the quote that everybody knows, or should, that as a man is a being of self-made wealth, so he is a being of self-made soul. That to live requires a sense of self-value. But man who has no automatic values has no automatic sense of self-esteem and must earn it by shaping his soul in the image of his moral ideal, in the image of man, the rational being. He is born able to create, but must create by choice. That the first precondition of self-esteem is that radiant selfishness of soul that desires the best in all things, in values of matter and spirit, a soul that seeks above all else to achieve its own moral perfection, valuing nothing higher than itself. Unquote from Atlas Shrugged.
So Bonnie, who just gave us a nice super chat. So again, if you'd like to have us read a comment of yours or answer a question of yours, please go ahead and just donate. The donations go to Ayn Rand Center UK, and it's a really excellent cause, and they do a heck of a job putting on all these shows, including ours.
Super chats do go to the Ayn Rand Center UK, and you should become a member if you're not already. You can go to aynrandcenter.co.uk. There's a link to membership right at the top, and you can join them for £10 a month. See, I said .co.uk. This is British. This is United Kingdom.
10 pounds of what?
10 pounds of dough. 10 pounds of loot. 14 something a month.
10 pounds
US.
of currency.
Subject to change. But no, that's the lowest amount. There are tiers. You get more perks if you join with higher levels. It's excellent. We are, of course, members. Although you think we'd get a freebie. I don't know, maybe we would if we didn't ask. We want to be members. We want to be paying members. But anywhere from 10 to 100 pounds a month, look at the different perks, take a look. You should be a member if you're not already. But back to ambition. So we have.
So Bonnie actually has something to say. She says, waiting to see how the concept of Zen comes in.
Yes.
Really like make your life what you will, because it is all about will and rationality.
Yes.
So there's some concepts there. What is will or what is free will, and how that relates to rationality and how that might relate to that. And what is Zen? What is this?
Well,
Zen?
the better proponents of Zen, the better proponents of Buddhism would agree with the Stoics in one of the better things that they've said, something that Ayn Rand has even quoted, which is God, or whatever you believe in, your own reasoning power, grant me the ability to change the things I can, to accept the things that I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference. What is that? The courage to change the things I can. I forgot the phrase. I have to look it up.
I'll look it up.
Something to accept the things I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference. Courage, wisdom. What's the third one?
Grant me the serenity to accept.
Serenity. I forgot. How can I forget
cannot
serenity?
change.
As a Firefly fan, I should have known serenity. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change, the courage to change the things I can, the wisdom to know the difference.
I'd say, Amy, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change.
Yes. Me.
Me.
Yes. Although that would be, then we could be solipsists. So yes, Zen is very interested in cases where logic fails and questions do not have clear answers. They seek not so much logic and reason and philosophy as they do wisdom. Incidentally, my project in life is to reconcile that conflict. So Zen being very interested in cases where logic fails and questions do not have clear answers, and the limitations of the logical mind are found trying to attain enlightenment. Stoicism is very interested in how far logic can be taken to solve actual problems. But the answer to the supposed failures of logic, or the supposed limits of reason, is context and integration. And that's also going to be my answer to the question of the friend who says, well, if I'm going to be happy with what I've got, I need to drop ambition.
Mm-hmm.
You know, respecting context means not ignoring nor evading information which is relevant to your topic, to what you're reasoning about, your chain of reasoning. Context means not ignoring or evading relevant information. Integration means not isolating or compartmentalizing, nor oversimplifying. And in regard to deciding on your ambitions, these are going to be the answers to the over-philosophical friend or any over-philosophical people that you know who say, well, I don't know how ambitious to be. I don't know whether to be ambitious. I can either accept the idea that happiness is to be found in appreciating what I've got, and therefore letting go of the idea of ambition, or I can be ambitious all the time, 15, 17 hours a day, no friends, no family. This is all about ambition. And obviously that's a bit of a straw man, but that's what I actually see, and it might well be behind this gentleman's decision to drop ambition. The mistake is thinking it's either or. Either you're ambitious and therefore you are driven to the highest levels of anybody you've ever met. All you care about is your ambitions. Or alternately, you say, well, that's not a good way to live, and you drop ambition and say, I will be happy with whatever life throws at me. Again, the answer to that is not to tease out some wisdom per the Zen Buddhists, or to try to take logic to an isolated, out of context decision like the Stoics, but to respect context and to respect integration. I'll explain that a bit more in less woo terms, but yes.
Yeah, so I don't have 99 cents or $15 for super chat, but I'd like to ask a question.
What's your question, ma'am?
So
you get a freebie.
What is the source of how to determine what your values are, or how to determine what you want? You know, this, and I think this is the crux of the matter, I think, in terms of, well, I don't want to be, well, first of all, if you have things that you already appreciate, then there has to be some source for that, you know.
Well, that's
why. Why do you appreciate whatever this thing that you have already, you know, that you already have?
Yep.
So.
Well, that's why my answer to the challenge is precisely to brainstorm. And you've got to do this with pencil and paper. Don't try this at home without a pen in your hand and a piece of paper. You could use a computer, doesn't work as well. Either way, get ready to write this down. Now, I'm skipping forward here to my answer to people who say, well, what do I do about all this? The first thing to do is sit down with a pad and a pen and start brainstorming your values. And the question to ask yourself is, what is my hierarchy of values? What are the 3 things I can't live without? What are my top 3 values, which if by the end of my life I haven't achieved or acted on these values, it will not be a life that was worth living. Some people call that the rocking chair test.
Right.
When you're 80 years old, or nowadays 80 is young, when you're 90 years old and sitting in your rocking chair and looking back on your life, what are the things you will look back on? And you'll be able to say it was a good life if you did these 3 things. And you will be dissatisfied. You will have regrets if you haven't done these 3 things. The longer version of this is you do 10 values, then pick out your top 3. There's a lot of ways to do this. If you don't have a life coach, you're welcome to hire me for the process. Either way, brainstorm your top values, your top hierarchy of values, those things that identify you, those things, your life, that you wouldn't be complete without. And then look at the way you're living your life. Are you in alignment with that?
You know, all these questions come down to looking in the mirror, introspecting, knowing yourself, journaling.
Keep going.
And that is something that is really difficult, I think.
Yes, you're right.
For some of us, and I mean, it's not impossible, obviously, and it shouldn't ever be.
It comes down. It comes down to 2 things, but it's really 10 things.
Yeah, but what my point though is that
Yes.
when we're talking about philosophy and we're talking about Ayn Rand and we're talking about these issues in philosophy, oftentimes, what comes up? Conflicts.
There are conflicts.
Very, very.
How do you resolve a conflict?
Topics, and everybody goes back and forth about complex topics, trying to get at the truth and everything. And sometimes, you're left with a little dissatisfaction because you end up not knowing exactly all of the answers. But it's a little bit more enticing, a little bit more sexy, a little bit more intriguing than us saying, "Hey, everybody, improve yourself."
Yes, which I would never say.
Right.
Can't improve yourself if you don't know what would be an improvement. That's why you need to brainstorm your values. That's only the first step in the process. Because the challenge that we run into is that what you need to brainstorm once you've written down your top values is you need to introspect your psychology. You need to introspect on what your blocks are. You need to look at your own personal philosophy. To the extent possible, you need to document your own sense of life, your own sense of what life on earth is and should be. The point is, the reason why ambition is not a simple matter, but that it is a dealable with answer, is that it touches on all of the values in your life.
Yes, it does.
And rather than give up on this and search for a Zen answer, or get lost in intrinsicism like the Stoics and try to bring it all down to a rationalistic, logical chain.
Right.
We need to brainstorm. We need to deal with that complexity because we want that passion. The Stoics would say, of course, you never judge anything based on passion. We do judge things based on values. In fact, it's what we're living for.
Right.
Stoicism, like Buddhism, advises against being ruled by desire. It advises against being chained to our passions. And yet we wish to have all-encompassing desires. We admire the driven. We admire the people of passion. Think of films like Rocky and Rudy and The Right Stuff, or books like Les Miserables or The Fountainhead or To Kill a Mockingbird, or even the Harry Potter books. We admire, we seek to be more like our heroes. Our heroes drive us to greater ambition. Our passion drives us to greater ambition. So are we seeking passion or are we seeking rationality?
Both.
Both. We are seeking the passionate search for dispassionate truth, who I always thought was Isaac Newton, but apparently that was Woodrow Wilson who said,
"Oh,
a passionate search for dispassionate truth."
He wasn't a very good role model on that.
So the answer to the young man who says, "I'll never be happy unless I learn to be happy with what I've got."
Yeah.
The answer to myself, because I've said those things, and I still believe that most people are generally about as happy as they've made up their minds to be, but that's simply part of the integration, part of the process, part of what I would want you to brainstorm on with a legal pad and a permanent marker in your hand. Okay, don't use a permanent marker, they smell horrible, but for some reason that's what I do. All of my show notes are permanent marker, legal.
Or have those lovely fruit scented markers.
I've tried
really
that.
Nice. Yeah.
I don't remember if they were fruit scented. They must have been fruit scented. They were sniff markers, scratch and whatever they were. Call them what you will, but no, I'm a permanent marker guy. Write this stuff down. You've got to brainstorm this stuff.
Yeah.
But yes, it really is. It really is Zen. It really is stoic, and yet it seems so hippie when people say, "I'm dropping ambition. I'm going to soak up the sun. I'm going to tell everyone to lighten up. Thank you, Sheryl Crow. It's a false alternative.
Yeah, it is.
I posted better Stoic phrases on my Facebook wall, but it's pretty hard to beat. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So Bonnie asks, one, concretize volition. Yes, concretize volition. The fact that you have free will, the fact that you have choice. It's fun. We did a whole episode on my other show on free will. Contra Sam Harris, who would say, we don't have free will, we are determined. And he seems to want us to choose determinism. But yes, concretize volition. Concretize the fact that in any given moment, you have the choice to focus or not. And by extension, you have the choice of what to focus on, when to focus, which will determine what you focus on. And you can't avoid, or I guess you can evade that, but you can't avoid that requirement of focus in your life. It's happening all the time. So yes, even our young man who says, I'm not going to be ambitious, is choosing something. Sounds very Rush. If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice.
Yes.
So even if you are not choosing your highest values, if you're not choosing ambition, you are choosing values or choosing disvalues.
Right.
There's no escaping that by choosing comfort. Comfort ultimately is uncomfortable. Or as somebody told me during one of our GlowCons, a life spent in your comfort zone is a thought that should make you very uncomfortable.
Yeah. So I think that these three things are Bonnie's hierarchy of values.
Oh my gosh,
Yes,
there's
yes,
three of them. So of
yes.
course that's what she's saying.
Yes.
Bonnie concretizes volition. She works on volition.
Yeah,
She is constantly clarifying that topic.
Yeah,
I don't know anybody who's as focused on the topic of free will as Bonnie is.
Her favorite concept.
And she's corrected me several times on less perfect formulations in that regard, less clear. Number two, see my kids whenever I can.
Yep.
Those of us who are parents absolutely understand that one.
Buy a baby grand piano.
Buy a baby grand piano.
Yeah.
I love how she says buy, not get. Get is a little loose and implies that you might wish for it more than do what it takes to make it happen.
Yeah, and by saying buy, you're saying you're earning it.
Yeah. Even if you were gifted it, it's not quite the same as doing what it takes to make that happen.
Yes,
love that.
Which certainly has a tie into your actions, which certainly has a tie into free will.
And she very kindly says she made that list after watching our episode on Values 5 Minutes with Robert Nason. That is the name of my other show for people looking for more of this goodness. I do have a show called 5 Minutes with Robert Nason every Sunday at 6.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that, Bonnie, and thank you for the super
Bonnie.
chat. That is super cool. So yes, if again, Zen is very interested in cases where logic fails and questions do not have clear answers, and the limitations of the logical mind allow us to attain enlightenment beyond logic. And Stoicism is very interested in how far logic can be taken to solve problems. But the answer to those supposed failures of logic or limitations of reason, the answer is context and integration. And I don't know any better way to get a handle on what it means to respect context, to respect the need to take in all of the relevant information, and to respect integration, to not isolate, to not compartmentalize, to not oversimplify, but to actually put everything you know together. I don't know a better way to get a handle on both context and integration than in studying Ayn Rand's philosophy. Hard to beat OPAR for that, Objectivism, the Philosophy of Ayn Rand, by Leonard Peikoff.
Right, and getting to the point when you are integrating all of these things, and you're trying to figure out what your goals are, you're trying to figure out what your ambitions are, that you don't, well, there's the analysis paralysis term.
Yes.
You don't just start sitting there on your butt, not actually taking action. The first thing that you need to do is and that, I mean, that goes into the whole technologies of trying to figure out what your goals are and getting yourself motivated to action. And, you know, starting out with something small and getting the ball rolling and getting that momentum going, so that you can see that, you know, you've made one small step toward that particular goal, towards your ambition. And now you don't have it some sort of, you know, it's no longer, you know, something unattainable or looming over you that you just can't grasp. You are grasping it if you can look at what you want and just do something to actually take that step forward. Real quick, I wanted to just make a quick comment about, you know, when we're talking about passion and ambition, these things they need to be based on your own personal, unique value judgments on who you are as a person. And of course, that's a great reason to know yourself. That's a great reason to understand who you are and how you think and what your strengths and weaknesses are and what your dispositions are and what your kind of emotional mechanism is like in regard to living life and your values and getting happiness out of it.
Is this going back to introspecting our own personal values and view of life?
Yes.
Are you saying that I shouldn't dye my hair orange, become an architect, and dive naked off a cliff?
Yes. You shouldn't mimic, obviously, or parrot.
You do want me to dive naked off a cliff, though?
No, actually, no.
Oh. I hope because you're worried about my safety.
Yes.
Not because of the spectacle.
You're welcome to celebrate Naked Hiking Day anytime you like.
Naked Hiking Day was yesterday, right? Day
or
before,
a couple days ago. So, but my main point is that you're doing a lot of introspecting when you're trying to find all of this out. Ambition and passion and objectivism, I see a little bit too much of it, and not to criticize folks, but I see a little bit, just
too much of what?
Too much of substituting argumentation for goals or for actual ambition and passion.
But if I'm arguing with people, I don't have to go out and actually live a life.
That is right.
Yeah,
So I mean, there's a certain level of which, you know, you need to ask yourself, you know, debating with other people or debating with other objectivists online or in other forums or on Clubhouse or however is actually good for your life, is actually going to get what you want. It's a substitute for purposeful action, or it can be. And us folks who really love philosophy and really love to get down into the debating of all the concepts and trying to figure out how these concepts apply to current events and wanting to find a sense of catharsis. You know, sometimes you have to reel all that in and ask yourself, really, is this serving me?
What am I doing? What is my purpose in this moment? Ideas make better tools than weapons.
Yes. So anyway, yes. I just wanted to bring that up.
Yes.
Yes. So well, hopefully that's helpful.
You're always good for regrounding us.
Well, thank you
reminding us that, this is about living on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And yes. So for folks who want a little more philosophy, a little more about, well, yeah, but Stoicism has a lot in common with Ayn Rand and with objectivism, right? I recommend the article by Aaron Smith on the Ayn Rand website, Ayn Rand Institute website, The False Promise of Stoicism. And with apologies for Mr. Smith, I'm just going to read a quick excerpt from this. He writes, Marcus Aurelius adopted a philosophy that promised resilience and inner peace in what he regarded as a hostile world, but it was a false promise. From the perspective of philosophical essentials, the Stoic approach to life and valuing that he adopted was antithetical to happiness and set against everything that makes life worth living. Judging from the Meditations, his major work, it deadened him and would deaden anyone toward life. And then in his conclusion, among other things, Aaron writes, one might ask, and I love this, one might ask, if Stoic philosophy taken seriously is that bad, can't we adopt a kind of cafeteria Stoic approach, picking up the few bits we find useful, modifying others, and discarding the rest. To benefit from advice about pursuing genuine values, we would need a rational conception of what to value. We would need to pursue precisely the kinds of life-enriching values that Stoicism urges us to be indifferent to. But in regard to, yes, picking it up and discarding the rest, he does write, I love his phrase, cafeteria Stoic. Can't we adopt a kind of cafeteria Stoic approach? He writes, the answer is, yes, of course we can, but it's important to know explicitly that this is what we're doing. And that's what I do. It's why I love the Stoics, because per Aaron's advice, I'm very aware of what not to adopt from Stoicism and what to adopt from Stoicism. So even when they say things which out of context would be destructive or would cause us to be self-destructive, I find wisdom, I find important ideas in what they say. I had, let's see here, where did I put that? I had quoted Marcus Aurelius, who says, despite all of the challenges and limitations of Stoicism, who says, he who follows reason in all things is both tranquil and active at the same time, and also cheerful and collected. And I think Aaron's right. I think there's a little too much tranquil and a little too much collected. And again, I think Stoicism has that in common with the advocates of Zen, with the Buddhists. But I get a lot out of it. And I think that as long as we take that cafeteria Stoic approach that Aaron so cleverly names, I think we can gain some insights from Stoicism that, at least at this point, we can't get anywhere else.
So is the Serenity Prayer one of the items in this cafeteria?
Yes, the Serenity Prayer is absolutely in the cafeteria. Now, before I wrap up, last time we talked about this topic of ambition, good friend online, Jim Ashley, brilliant guy. If you're not already friends with him on Facebook, friend him, because he writes, I think he has a website too. You can go to his website and read his writings. But he said, no, you've got to read Burton Braley's poem about ambition. So we looked it up. I'd already read it before in a previous show. I'll read it again. And I'm going to read it right now.
Advance apologies to Mary Aline.
Mary Aline did point out that there's a really ruthless slashing of a word in the English language here. You'll know what she was talking about. And yes, I apologize. The poem just doesn't work if you don't. Anyway, Burton Braley, if you don't already know, poet of the early 1900s, optimistic and focused on work and ethics and life. You'll see what I mean. Poem's called Essential by Burton Braley. You'll never get anywhere, never do anything, never be anyone much. No honor or fame will accrue to your name. You'll never have wealth in your clutch unless you go striving for, doggedly driving for, seeking the thing that you wish. How do some guys manage to rise? Take it from me, it's ambish. Although you have cleverness, brains, and ability, plenty of deftness and skill, the thing that you need if you hope to succeed is courage and power of will. Without pertinacity, all your capacity leaves you a failure, poor fish. How do the great get to that state? I've got the answer, ambish. You'll hear it called restlessness, wanton irreverence, discontent, lunacy too. But it is the force that alters life course and makes the world over anew. The one irrepressible, strange and unguessable, cosmic, unwavering wish. How did we climb out of the slime? You tell him, buddy, ambish.
Yay.
Okay, that ruthless truncating of the word ambition. Mary Aline, of course, is right. Unfortunately, the poem wouldn't work without it. If you're not already familiar with the poetry of Burton Braley, look it up. It's all over the poetry websites online. He's long gone long enough that it's out of copyright. You can find it. Burton Braley. Braley.
Yeah, so we're going to be wrapping up soon. I just want to remind everybody that you do have an opportunity to go into the super chat and put in some
Yes,
change.
more super chat for the
If
Ayn
you
Rand
have
Center
a-
UK. Love your questions.
Yeah, question or
Although there's some
statement.
great comments here. I haven't been reading them all.
Oh, yes.
I don't have that in front of me, but let me know if I've missed anything important.
Yeah, so
much good stuff.
yeah, and then afterwards we're going to be going on Clubhouse.
Afterward, we will be on Clubhouse, and you can not only give us feedback, you can do it in audio, orally. That sounds wrong. You can do it as audio on the Clubhouse platform. So my homework that I gave myself after having this discussion last time was to review my New Year's resolutions. I want to talk about ambition. My New Year's resolutions that I gave out in January publicly, so everybody can hold me to them, was 3 things. One of them was I changed careers back in August of 2019. I was a highly paid IT professional, and my resolution after retiring from that profession for this year is to try to reach my previous salary by writing and podcasting. Of course, that's how everybody gets rich. Resolution number 1, try to equal my previous salary. Resolution number 2 is to take my own personal podcast, 5 Minutes with Robert Naser, to 1,000 subscribers, which, since we only have, I think, between 100 and 200, is very ambitious. If you're not already a subscriber, go to YouTube/Robert Naser, and there it is. Just subscribe, or go to robertnaser.com. All the links are there. Help me out. I need to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And then my third ambition, might be the only one I actually pull off, but I am trying like hell to make them all happen, is to get back down to my wedding weight, to get that same svelte figure that I had when I married this charming woman. So point is, those were my 3 ambitions for the year. And my homework for myself was to decide if they are still my goals. In other words, to do that brainstorming again, make sure they're realistic, and then take one concrete step in the direction of each one of my ambitions. And if you're following along at home, if you've got a mind to do it, you could do the same thing. Figure out what are your current top 3 ambitions right now. And what's one step, just one thing? It could be writing something down. It could be scheduling something. It could be making an appointment. It could be buying a new blank book for writing. It could be anything. But what one step can you take right now in the direction of each of those 3 ambitions? If you want to join me in that homework, you're welcome to do so. And I think that might be the end of my notes. Of course, you know me, I could go on for hours, but the bottom line is ambition. You don't have to either say, I'm going to be Gil Wynand or Steve Jobs or somebody who works 17 hours a day to the exclusion of everything else I care about, because that's what ambition means. Or drop the concept and say ambition is just too much and life's no fun that way. What you really need to do is much harder, but also much easier because it's actually possible. Brainstorm your values. Make sure you know what your hierarchy of values are. Include in your brainstorming your own personal psychology, your own philosophical views. Put that all together and then say, what does that look like in my life? I'm looking back on my life 30, 40, 50 years from now. What will be the life I wish I had led? And then take a step and make it happen for each one of those highest values. That concept of 10 high values, 3 highest values comes from Andrew Bernstein's How to Be an Impassioned Valuer.
Yes.
And if you don't have a copy of that and don't know where to track one down, contact me. I can hook you up. It's one of the best things Andrew Bernstein ever did, and that's saying something because he's done an awful lot of great stuff.
Yes.
But How to Be an Impassioned Valuer. Find your passions. Emotions are not tools of cognition. They're the reward of successful action. So think about what you want. Take action to make it happen. Enjoy the rewards. Never give up on the concept of ambition, but also never take it out of context and allow yourself to be frustrated. And
Yes.
with that said,
Yes, with that said,
one more reminder, go to the AynRandCenter.co.uk, sign up as a member. Thank you for the super chats that support that channel. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here. Your comments in the chat Make it all worth it. So much fun. I appreciate that. We will see you again. Well, we'll see you on Sunday at 6 o'clock on my YouTube channel, but we will see you next week for Life on Earth, again on the Ayn Rand Center UK channel. Thank you so much for being here. Now let's go to Clubhouse and talk.
Yes, let's do that.